I thought I was just a husband dealing with betrayal. I never imagined I'd be standing in a hospital room, holding a newborn daughter I never thought I'd have, wondering if I deserved this second chance, or if I already blew it. This isn't a story about a cheating wife. It's a story about what happens when the truth is too complicated for villains, when love survives mistakes, and when a teenage son holds a secret heavy enough to break a family. And yeah, I messed up too. So here's what really happened. Ethan's always been a quiet kid. Smart, observant. One of those boys who doesn't say much, but notices everything. That's probably what hurt the most. It wasn't me who caught Kira cheating. It was him. He waited until after dinner. I was loading the dishwasher. He was just standing there, leaning on the counter, kind of fidgeting with the edge of a napkin. Then he said, "Dad, I saw a man leaving the house the other day." My back stiffened, but I didn't turn around yet. What kind of man? Like, someone Mom was talking to. Close. I dunno. It didn't feel right. I looked over my shoulder. When was this? 2 days ago. You were at work. I was upstairs. My stomach dropped. He looked like he wanted to throw up. I told Grandma, Mom's mom? She told me to forget it. She said, grown-ups go through things. That I should. I didn't speak. I just stood there, staring at the plates like they were going to answer for me. Not because I didn't believe him, because I already knew. Somewhere in my gut, I'd known for a while. I just wasn't ready to face it. I didn't say anything to Kira that night. Didn't ask questions. Didn't accuse her. Didn't even look at her any different. But I moved into the guest room. No announcement. No drama. Just one night, I took my pillow and closed a different door. She noticed. Of course she did. But she didn't ask why. And I didn't offer. Ethan kept watching me like he was waiting for something to explode. Didn't. Not yet. 'Cause I didn't know what to do. I wanted to protect him. Protect what little peace we had left. But every time I looked at him, I knew one thing. If this blew up, he'd find out everything. Not just about Kira, but about Sarah. His real mom. The one he never met. The one he doesn't know existed. Yet, I didn't sleep that first night in the guest room. Not because it was uncomfortable. Hell, I used to crash in there all the time when I worked late. It's because everything felt different now. Like I was floating in my own house. Half here, half somewhere else entirely. Kira didn't say anything the next morning. She just noticed the pillow. She noticed the door was closed. She noticed that I didn't kiss her cheek like I always did. But she didn't ask. And I didn't offer. It became routine. Dinner. Dishes. Distant silence. 2 adults pretending this was just a rough patch. Ethan noticed. Of course he did. He's not a little kid anymore. He's almost 17. Sharp as hell. Sensitive, too. He didn't ask about the room, but he started hovering. Coming in the kitchen while I made coffee. Sitting in the garage while I fixed stuff. Not talking. Just being there. Like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. One night, I was sitting out back alone. No lights. Just me and a beer that had gone warm. Ethan slid the screen door open and stepped outside. He didn't sit right away. Just stood there, arms crossed. Then he said, "Is this because of what I told you?" I looked up. "What?" "You and Mom. Sleeping separate." I exhaled. "It's complicated." He nodded slowly. Then, "Is it my fault?" That hit harder than any confession ever could. I shook my head fast. "No. No, buddy. None of this is on you. But if I hadn't said anything, you did the right thing." I cut in. "You told me the truth. That matters." He didn't answer. Just sat next to me, real quiet. Then finally asked, "Are you guys getting a divorce?" I looked at the trees. At the way the wind didn't care if I answered. "I don't know yet." Later that night, I laid in bed and stared at the ceiling fan spinning. Felt like it was mocking me. I thought about Sarah. I thought about how, when she died giving birth, I promised I'd never let Ethan feel like his life cost someone else theirs. And here I was, choosing between burning down a lie or letting him live in it. Kira knocked once on the door that night. Just once. Didn't say a word. Then walked away. and I just kept staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I could float in this in-between place, before I finally sank. It was Ethan who finally forced the conversation. Saturday morning. Pancakes. Awkward silence. Maya cartoons humming in the background. He sat at the table, arms crossed, staring down his plate. Then he said, "I think we should talk." Kira and I both froze. She looked at me first, then at him. "About what, honey?" He laughed once. Dry. "Don't do that." The soft voice thing. "I'm not a kid." I set my fork down. "All right, let's talk." He looked between us like a referee waiting for the whistle. Then he fired the first shot. "I know something's wrong. I told Dad what I saw. And now he's not sleeping in your room. So either you're pretending everything's fine, or I'm the only one being honest." Kira looked stunned. Her mouth opened, then closed. I took a breath. "It's true," I said. "I moved out of the bedroom. Because of what I told you?" "No," I lied. "Because of what's happening between me and your mom. Things you don't need to carry." He stared at me. "You're both acting like I can't handle the truth. But guess what? I already am." Kira reached across the table. "Ethan, sweetie, this isn't your fault. None of this is." He pulled his arm away, not violently, just enough. "Then whose is it?" Silence. That question just hung there. I wasn't ready to answer it, and neither was she. So I did the only thing I could. I said, "Ethan, listen. Adults screw up. Sometimes badly. We hurt each other and we try to fix it. And we're trying. That's all I can tell you right now." He shook his head. "Trying doesn't look like this." Then stood up. "Next time you guys decide to fake a family meeting, let me know when you're ready to actually say something." And he walked out. Kira didn't cry. She just stared at his empty chair. Then said, barely above a whisper, "I was going to tell you." I looked at her. "You already did. Just not out loud." That night I called Tom. He's the one guy who's seen all sides of me, before Sarah, after her, through the years with Kira. I didn't say much. Just told him, "I think I'm getting a divorce." He didn't react. Just said, "Does Ethan know everything?" "No." "Are you prepared for him to find out?" I stayed quiet. Then he said it. "Because if you go through with this, you'll have to tell him who his real mom was." Silence again. "And when you do, make sure you're doing it for his sake, not yours." I hung up and sat with that. Because maybe the scariest part of breaking a family is knowing some truths can't be untold. Kira came to me late that night. I was in the garage, sitting on an old paint bucket, staring at the floor like it owed me answers. She walked in quietly, didn't say anything at first. Then, it was once. I didn't move. She took a shaky breath. "It was stupid. I was mad. I felt invisible. I didn't plan it, Jack. It just happened." Still, I didn't look at her. She added, "It didn't mean anything." That made me laugh. Bitter and quiet. It meant something to me. She dropped into the folding chair across from me. "He came by to drop off something for my mom. She wasn't home. I was lonely. You'd been distant for weeks, months. I felt like a roommate, not a wife." "And so you slept with someone?" I said flatly. "I was weak," she whispered. "I made the worst mistake of my life." I finally looked at her. She looked small, pale, like the truth had taken something out of her that wouldn't come back. And for a second, I hated how much I still cared. "I'm not gonna scream," I said. "And I'm not gonna throw you out. But I don't know if I can ever come back from this." "I'll do anything," she said. "Anything to fix this." I shook my head. "You can't undo it." "I know." Later, I sat in bed, well, the guest bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone. There she was, years ago, with Ethan on her shoulders at a zoo. There she was asleep on the couch with him curled into her side. There she was helping him tie his first tie. She wasn't his mom by blood. But in every photo you'd think she'd given birth to him. And I knew, if this ended, if we split, he'd lose more than just mom and dad together. He'd lose a truth he thought was solid. He'd find out Sarah wasn't some old friend we never talked about. She was his real mother. And Kira was just the woman who loved him anyway. The next morning, I couldn't look Ethan in the eye. He said morning, and I just grunted. He didn't push. He never did. That's what made it worse. He was giving me grace I wasn't giving anyone else. I opened the garage that afternoon and stared at the street. I wanted to run, but I had nowhere to go. So I called Tom again. Still thinking about leaving? He asked. Yeah. You ready to explain everything to your son? No. Then maybe you're not ready to leave yet. Maybe he was right. Maybe staying wasn't weakness. Maybe it was just unfinished business. Because the storm hadn't hit yet, and I had a feeling something worse was coming. I found her in the kitchen, holding the counter like it was keeping her upright. She didn't look at me right away, just said quietly, I need to tell you something. I thought, here we go again. Then she turned and said it. I'm pregnant. I laughed. Not the funny kind. The hollow, exhausted, what else could possibly go wrong kind. You're what? I took 3 tests. But you said you couldn't. I know, she whispered. That's what the doctors always said. We never even tried anymore. But it happened. Somehow. I backed away. I wasn't angry yet. I was still too shocked. Then it hit me. You're saying it's mine? Her face crumpled. Yes, I think so. I hope so. There it was again, that word. Hope. Like we were rolling dice with a child's life. I walked out the door. Didn't slam it. Didn't grab keys. Just walked. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to not exist for a while. That night, I ended up at a bar 2 towns over. Not the kind of place where people ask your name. Just dark, and quiet, and anonymous. That's where I met her. Amber. She was sitting alone, nursing something that looked stronger than I could handle. We didn't flirt. Didn't trade backstories. She asked me if I was running from something. I said, a woman. She said, me too. We talked for an hour. Maybe more. About regret. About raising kids when you're emotionally broken. About feeling like a supporting actor in your own life. When she stood up to leave, she paused. Want to crash at my place? She asked. No pressure. Just company. I should have said no. I knew I should have. But I didn't. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't passionate. It was 2 people bleeding in the same room, trying to stitch each other with whatever was left inside. The next morning, I left before she woke up. Didn't leave a note. Didn't say goodbye. And I didn't feel better. Just heavier. When I got home, the house was quiet. Kira was in bed. Ethan was probably avoiding me, sensing whatever storm had passed through. I looked in the mirror. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I couldn't tell if I was the one who'd been betrayed or the one doing the betraying now. I didn't call Amber. Didn't text. Didn't even save her number. But the weight of what happened stayed with me. Not because it meant something, but because it didn't. And that scared me. At home, everything looked the same. But the air felt like it had splinters. Kira was quieter than ever. She didn't bring up the pregnancy. Didn't ask where I'd been. She just existed near me, like we were 2 ghosts haunting the same house. Ethan barely spoke. He started coming home later, headphones in, room locked. One night, I knocked and said, hey, you good? He answered without opening the door. Are you? That shut me up. 2 weeks passed. Kira's belly started to show. Just a little. She still cooked dinner. Still made grocery lists. But she wasn't present. Just going through the motions. We were all waiting for something. Maybe for me to leave. Maybe for her to crack. Maybe both. Amber texted once. Hope you're okay. No pressure. Just making sure you're still breathing. I stared at it for hours. Then deleted it. Didn't respond. Because what would I say? Hey, remember that time we used each other to feel less broken? Thanks for that. I'm gonna go be miserable with my actual family now. That night, Kira came into the guest room. No makeup, just sweatpants and a worn t-shirt. She stood in the doorway and said, I've made an appointment to get the DNA test after the baby's born. I nodded. She added, I want you to believe me. And then she left. No drama. No tears. Just facts. Later that night, I sat outside on the porch. It was cold, but I didn't care. I just kept thinking, what if she's right? What if this baby is mine? What if everything I'm doing now will be the thing I can never undo? I looked up at the sky, trying to remember the last time I prayed. I didn't find a prayer. Just one thought looping over and over. What the hell am I becoming? I didn't plan to disappear. I just didn't come home. Left my phone on silent in the glove box. Took the truck and drove west until the highway blurred into farmland. No bag. No destination. Just me and the gnawing feeling that I'd finally become everything I swore I'd never be. I slept in the truck the first night. Windows cracked. Hoodie pulled over my face. Woke up sore, starving, and still unsure where I was going. I didn't care. I just needed to not exist in that house. Back home, the fallout started. I know because when I finally checked my phone, I had 23 missed calls. 11 from Kira, 6 from Ethan, 3 from Tom, 1 from a number I didn't recognize, probably Amber. Text from Ethan, Dad, are you okay? Just tell me you're alive. Another one later, please don't do something stupid. Tom's voicemail hit the hardest. You don't get to disappear, Jack. You're not 20. You're a dad. Call me before I come find you. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I drove to a motel an hour outside of town. Paid cash. No ID. Just a bed and a vending machine that ate my last $2. Amber called once. I stared at the screen. Didn't answer. Just stared. By day 2, guilt hit like a migraine. Not because I'd left. Because I didn't say goodbye. Didn't even leave a note. Not for Kira. Not for Ethan. Especially not for Ethan. I finally texted him. I'm okay. I'm sorry I scared you. I just needed air. He replied instantly. You're not okay, but I'm glad you're not dead. And just like that, I felt smaller than I ever had. I drove home late that night. The porch light was still on. The living room was dark. I opened the door and found Ethan sitting on the floor with his back against the couch. He looked up. No anger. Just exhaustion. You done disappearing? I nodded. Cool, he said. Because we need milk. That was it. No lecture. No hug. Just a half-sarcastic teenager trying not to show he cried for 2 days. I sat down next to him. Neither of us spoke. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like we were breathing in the same house again. Kira's water broke at 4:27 in the morning. I heard her moving around, pacing the hallway, and then, Jack. It was the first time she'd said my name in weeks without edge or distance. I was already out of bed. We didn't talk much on the drive. Just sat in the quiet hum of tires and hospital lights. The delivery was quick. Surprisingly smooth. Maya was born just before sunrise. She came out wailing, fierce and loud, like she had something to prove from the start. They placed her on Kira's chest, and I stood there frozen. Not with fear, with something else. A kind of ache I didn't know I could still feel. Kira looked up at me. Her hair stuck to her forehead, eyes red and tired. She's yours, she whispered. I didn't say anything, because I didn't know if I believed it. Not yet. 2 days later, I was alone in the hospital hallway with an envelope. DNA results. I didn't open it right away, just held it, staring at the machines down the hall, hearing Maya's tiny cries from behind the nursery window. I opened it slowly. Probability of paternity. 99.99%. That's it. No fireworks. No relief. Just truth on paper. I walked back into the room. Kira was feeding Maya. She looked up, unsure. I nodded once, and that was all she needed. Tears welled up, but she didn't cry. She just whispered, "Thank you for believing me." I didn't have the heart to tell her I hadn't. But now, looking at this baby, my daughter, I felt everything all at once. Gratitude, shame, love, fear, but mostly guilt. Because as much as I wanted this moment to feel like healing, all I could think about was Amber, and the part of me I left behind that night. Later, in the parking lot, I sat in the truck and texted Tom. "She's mine." He wrote back, "Congratulations. Now go fix the part of you that doesn't feel it yet." And he was right, because holding your child doesn't undo what you did. But maybe it reminds you who you still want to be. I met Tom at our usual spot, an old diner with terrible coffee and great pie. He slid into the booth across from me, didn't even ask how I was. Just said, "So? Yours?" I nodded. He sipped his coffee. "You don't look relieved." "I don't know what I look like anymore." I told him everything. About Amber, the night at her place, the silence after. I expected judgment. What I got was worse. Truth. "You know," he said, "you've been walking around like the only one who's been hurt. I have been." I shot back. "She cheated on me. And you cheated right back. That's not the same." He raised an eyebrow. "Really?" I looked away. He leaned in. "Look, man, you're not a monster, but you're not innocent either. You got hurt. Then you hurt someone else. That's the cycle. Break it." I shook my head. "I didn't love Amber. Did Kira love him?" That shut me up. He took another bite of pie. "You think you're better because yours was about pain instead of lust. But from the outside, it's the same damn thing. You broke something." I sat with that, let it sting, then pulled out my phone. Amber answered on the second ring. Her voice was cautious. "Jack?" "Yeah. Hey. I owe you more than a text." She was quiet for a beat. Then, "You okay?" "Not really. But I'm trying." "Good." Another pause. Then I said it. "That night, what happened, it wasn't fair to you. Or to anyone. I wasn't whole. I wasn't honest. And I'm sorry." Her voice softened. "I knew what it was. I didn't. That's why I'm glad you're calling now." We didn't talk long. Didn't need to. It wasn't about fixing anything. It was about facing it. After the call, I sat in my truck for a while, watching the sky darken behind telephone lines, thinking about how easy it is to point at someone else's wreckage, while ignoring the pieces you left behind. Kira was sitting in the hospital bed when I walked in, Maya sleeping in her arms. The room smelled like sanitizer and juice boxes, peaceful in that sterile, overlit kind of way. I closed the door behind me. She looked up, instantly sensing something was off. "What's wrong?" she asked. I sat down next to her, took a deep breath, then said, "I need to tell you something, and I'm not gonna soften it." Her body tensed. She didn't speak, just waited. I looked at Maya, then at the floor, and finally back at her. "I slept with someone," I said. She blinked. "When?" "That night. When I left." Silence. I let it hang. I didn't plan it. I didn't even really want to, but I let it happen. Kira looked down at Maya, ran her thumb gently across her daughter's cheek, then said, "Was it Amber?" I blinked. "You knew." "I had a feeling. You looked different when you came back." I swallowed. "Why didn't you say anything?" She shrugged, eyes tired. "Because I broke us first. I don't get to be surprised." I waited for the anger, the explosion, the heartbreak, but it didn't come. She looked up at me and said, "I forgave you before you told me." I sat back in the chair, stunned. "You what?" "I knew something happened, and I already decided if you came back, if you stayed, then I'd let it go." She held Maya a little closer. "Because we both did damage, but we both came back. And that has to count for something." I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 seconds. Maybe 10 minutes. Just breathing. Because I didn't expect that kind of grace. And I didn't feel like I deserved it. But sometimes love isn't about what you earn. It's about what you choose to give even when it's hard. We named her Maya that evening. Kira smiled when I said it. "Means illusion in some cultures," she said. "But also strength." I nodded. "She's both," I whispered. "Just like us. Maya's 2 now. She's wild, stubborn, and somehow has Kira's eyes and my scowl. She thinks her big brother is the funniest human alive. Ethan. He plays along like he's too cool, but I catch him letting her mess up his hair and call him Eve. We're a family. Not perfect, but real. We eat together, laugh again, sleep in the same room, even fight sometimes, but the kind of fights that end with long talks and soft apologies. Not doors slamming, not rooms going cold. Kira and I are stronger now, not because we forgot what happened, but because we didn't let it be the final chapter. We kept showing up, even when it would have been easier to walk away. Ethan's doing better too. He still doesn't know about Sarah, that Kira isn't his biological mom. We almost told him once, had the talk planned, the photos, the words. But when the moment came, we looked at each other, then at him, and we couldn't do it. He was laughing at something Maya did, shooting cereal out of her nose. Kira was wiping her face, trying not to laugh too. And I thought, does it really matter? Does telling him make us honest? Or just selfish? So we didn't. Not yet. Maybe one day we will. Maybe he'll ask again and we'll know it's time. Maybe we won't. But here's the truth. He was raised with love. He was never made to feel less than. He grew up with a mom who never treated him like a half-anything. And maybe that's more real than biology ever was. So now I'm asking you, should we tell him? Or is it okay to let him keep believing the only version of the truth that ever made him feel safe? What would you do?